Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to, cut through the noise and really get to the heart of some profound ideas. And today we're plunging into something that, well, it touches every single one of us. It's this question. Is love just a magical feeling you fall into, something that washes over you? Or is it actually something you have to actively, consciously build, something you practice, maybe meticulously?
It's that universal search, isn't it? For deep connection, for feeling truly seen, truly cherished.
Absolutely. But how often do we really stop and think, could our whole approach to finding love, to keeping love, be setting us up for disappointment again and again?
Hmm.
So our deep dive today, it takes us into the brilliant mind of psychoanalyst Erich Fromm, specifically his really seminal work, The Art of Loving, still incredibly relevant.
It really is.
And Fromm, with his, sharp psychological and sociological insights, he really challenges that conventional romantic story so many of us grew up with.
He does. He puts forward this really striking idea that falling in love, that initial rush, it's often driven by loneliness that came before it, a need to escape being isolated.
And because of that,
And because of that, fundamentally, it's not built to last. It's a pretty radical reframing, isn't it?
yeah,
It asks us to look past the fairy tale, really, and see the work involved.
exactly.
And that's pretty much our mission for this deep dive. To unpack Fromm's, well, revolutionary idea, he suggests that mature love, and this could be for a partner or for humanity, or even for a higher power, it's not just a passive feeling. It's not something that just happens to you.
Right.
Instead, it's an active practice, conscious, even you can say profoundly spiritual.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore the core elements he says are essential for this art: discipline, concentration, faith, and courage.
Those four key things.
Yes. And hopefully by the end, you'll have a better sense of how to tell the difference between, say, true connection and just fleeting infatuation or sentimentalism, or even those relationships that feel more like a transaction.
Yeah, equipping you to actually cultivate love, not just wait around for it.
Precisely. Empowering you.
Yeah, to guide us through this pretty intricate landscape, we've gathered an incredible stack of sources. It's quite diverse. Our exploration is going to weave through ancient spiritual texts, things like the Dhammapada, the Bhagavad Gita, spanning cultures, millennia.
Deep wisdom there.
Definitely. And we'll draw from Christian mystics, too, like St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa of Avila, plus contemporary guides, people like Eckhart Tolle, Don Miguel Ruiz.
So bridging ancient and modern.
Exactly. And philosophy Plotinus from the Enneads, Marcus Aurelius, and then blending in modern psychology from M. Scott Peck, Viktor Frankl.
Wow, that's a broad spectrum.
It is. And this range helps us see how Fromm's idea of love as an art, well, it's not just some new age fad. It's a timeless truth you find echoed across so many different traditions and fields. It kind of gives you a shortcut to understanding this deep human thing.
So prepare yourself. This exploration, it might just challenge some of your deepest ideas about what love actually is. Maybe ideas you didn't even know you had. We're aiming to go way beyond the superficial, past the glossy magazine covers, the greeting card versions of love. Our goal is to understand love as this profound path, a path to self-mastery even, a journey that could lead to union with something, well, much bigger than just ourselves.
More than just theory, then.
Absolutely. We want to equip you with actionable insights, things you can use to cultivate a more intentional, a more resilient, a more fulfilling experience of love in your own life.
So this isn't just a chat.
No, it's an invitation, really. An invitation to transform how you experience love.
Okay, so let's dive straight into Fromm's first, and honestly, pretty striking observation. It really turns how most of us think about love completely upside down.
Yeah, it's a big one.
He points out this crucial confusion. It's between what he calls the initial experience of falling in love.
That intense beginning.
Right. And the much more demanding, much more enduring state of being in love. Or, as he puts it, maybe better, standing in love.
Standing in love. I like that contrast. Falling versus standing.
Me too. And that distinction is just critical because it immediately pushes back against that popular idea that love just happens to you, like you stumble into it.
Catching a cold.
Exactly. Instead of seeing it as this conscious, sustained climb towards connection, it's like comparing a sparkler to a bonfire you have to keep feeding.
That's a great analogy. And what Fromm really nails here is that exhilarating moment,
Yeah.
that sudden intimacy.
Yeah.
Where the wall between them breaks down and they feel close, they feel like one. He says that feeling, for many, is actually a deceptive sign of lasting love.
Deceptive how?
Well, he describes that initial rush as feeling almost miraculous, especially if you've been shut off isolated without love beforehand.
Okay, so the contrast makes it feel bigger.
Precisely. The sheer intensity of it, that feeling of finally being seen, understood, it can easily mask deeper issues. Or just, a profound underlying loneliness.
Mm.
It feels like this amazing discovery, this huge relief after maybe years of yearning. But Fromm suggests it might just be a temporary fix, not a solid foundation.
That's a tough pill to swallow. And it leads to an even more, maybe provocative idea from him. He suggests the very intensity of the infatuation, that being crazy about each other feeling,
Yeah.
might only prove the degree of their preceding loneliness. Just think about that.
Wow. So the more desperate you felt before.
The more intense and seemingly miraculous that initial connection feels.
So it's not just a critique of, like, Hollywood romance.
No, it's deeper. It challenges the very foundation of how many cultures, especially Western ones, define and chase after love. Are we, when we chase that intense feeling, are we actually chasing a symptom instead of cultivating the real thing?
It forces you to ask, yeah, is what we're calling love really connection, or is it just an escape from ourselves,
No.
a distraction? That's heavy.
And Fromm takes this critique even further. He connects this often short-lived infatuation to something bigger in society. He calls it a marketing orientation.
A marketing orientation. What does he mean by that?
Well, he argues that in societies where material success is the outstanding value, and you could argue that's still pretty relevant.
Sadly, yes.
He says, rather uncomfortably, that human love relations follow the same pattern of exchange which governs the commodity and the labor market.
Ooh. So love becomes like buying and selling.
Essentially, yes. He's saying we often approach love not as this deep interpersonal thing, but more like a transaction, a bargain. People exchanging desirable traits, looks, status, personality points like trading goods or services, finding the best deal on the emotional market.
That feels uncomfortable, maybe even confronting.
It is.
Are we, maybe without realizing it, selling ourselves in relationships, trying to look good, seeking the best deal, the most valuable partner?
Instead of actually investing in the process of building a bond. Right. And Fromm says the societal pattern makes us focus obsessively on finding the right object, the perfect person with the checklist of traits,
Rather than developing the right capacity within ourselves to actually love.
so it puts the focus outside on finding someone else.
Exactly. When the real work and the real power to love needs to start inside, internally.
And the consequences of treating love like the stock market, what does Fromm say about that?
Well, according to him, they're predictable and often pretty painful. He says point blank that this type of love is by its very nature not lasting.
Not built to last.
Nope. Once that initial excitement wears off, once the novelty fades, their intimacy loses more and more its miraculous character. Until their antagonism, their disappointments, their mutual boredom kill whatever is left of the initial excitement. The illusion just shatters.
Leaving what? Disillusionment? Resentment?
Yeah, and often a feeling of profound emptiness because the foundation wasn't really there.
Wow. That really echoes what M. Scott Peck wrote about in The Road Less Traveled, doesn't it? Another source we often come back to.
It absolutely does. Peck directly talks about the ghastly confusion and suffering caused by what he calls the myth of romantic love.
The myth.
Yeah. He describes how people waste huge amounts of energy desperately and futilely attempting to make the reality of their lives conform to the unreality of the myth.
Trying to force reality to fit the fairy tale.
Exactly. Clinging to the belief that the first flush of infatuation is what real lasting love should always feel like, perpetually.
Which is just setting yourself up for pain, right? In the natural ups and downs of a real relationship start.
Totally. And Peck gives these really vivid, kind of heartbreaking examples.
Like what?
Well, there's Mrs. A. She feels guilty like she tricked her husband just because she didn't feel that intense, crazy in love feeling when they got married. So she ends up subjugating herself. Then there's Mr. B. He lives his life regretting not marrying Miss C. Someone compatible, just because he wasn't head over heels in that initial dizzying way.
Missed connection because the feeling wasn't right.
Exactly. And Mrs. D, she gets depressed when she falls out of love after only a couple of years. She thinks she made a huge mistake, that the marriage is basically over.
Instead of seeing it as a new phase.
Right. These stories just powerfully show the suffering this myth creates. When people don't realize that the end of infatuation, it can actually be the beginning of the real work, the work of their marriage, not its end.
It's like a doorway, not a dead end.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's the point where the real work, the art of loving Fromm talks about, can actually begin, where conscious choice replaces just passively falling.
Okay, so Fromm delivers this pretty sharp critique of modern love, but he doesn't just leave us there, right? In despair.
No, definitely not. He pivots quite skillfully
From what love isn't.
to what it is, or what it can be. This is where he starts building his vision of mature, lasting love.
And he identifies these four core components.
Yes, 4 mutually interdependent attitudes or practices. He says they're essential for standing in love. They are. Care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge.
Care, responsibility, respect, knowledge. Okay. These aren't just nice ideas, are they?
Not at all. For Fromm, these are active engagements, choices, behaviors. So care means really having active concern for the other person's life, their growth, like a gardener tending a plant they cherish, wanting them to thrive.
Actively wanting them to thrive. Okay.
Responsibility means responding to their needs, but not like it's a duty or an obligation you resent. It's voluntary. It comes from a genuine inner desire to support their well-being, being present, responsive.
Not just feeling obligated.
Right. And respect. This is a big one. It's the ability to see the other person as they actually are, acknowledging, appreciating their unique individuality, and crucially, allowing them to grow in their own way, not trying to shape them into your ideal or projecting your stuff onto them.
Letting them be them. That takes real effort sometimes.
It does. And finally, knowledge. This means understanding the other person deeply, not just on the surface, but at their core. Seeing past the masks.
So empathy, really listening.
Exactly. A willingness to truly perceive them.
What's powerful about these four pillars, care, responsibility, respect, knowledge, is how they seem to connect to Fromm's idea of a mature person.
Absolutely. He paints this picture of someone who develops his own powers productively, who only wants to have that which he's worked for, who's given up narcissistic dreams of omniscience and omnipotence.
So someone grounded, humble.
Yes, someone who has acquired humility based on the inner strength, which only genuine productive activity can give.
So the art of loving someone else, it actually starts with becoming a more whole person yourself.
That's exactly it. It's not about finding someone to complete you. It's about cultivating your own growth, your own inner strength first. And then, from that place of self-possession, of maturity, you can extend yourself outward in a genuine way, a non-needy connection, bringing your whole developed self to the relationship.
That makes sense.
And Fromm doesn't just limit this to one-on-one relationships. He expands the idea of love into something much bigger, almost cosmic. He talks about it as the overcoming of human separateness, as the fulfillment of the longing for union.
Overcoming separateness, longing for union.
He sees this not just as a romantic thing, but as a fundamental, universal, existential need, something deep within all of us.
A yearning to transcend feeling isolated, to bridge that gap between me and you, or me and the world.
Exactly. He sees it as a core driver of human behavior, but we often mistake it for just romantic desire.
And that idea, overcoming separateness, it really takes us beyond just romance, doesn't it? It touches on something deeply spiritual. You hear echoes of this across so many traditions.
Absolutely. This desire for union, it feels fundamental, not just biological, like the drive to procreate, but spiritual.
That yearning to feel connected to something larger than ourselves, to dissolve that illusion of being totally separate. It reminds me of A Course in Miracles, actually.
So.
Well, that core idea. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. It suggests our sense of separateness and all the fear that comes with it is ultimately unreal, an illusion.
And love is the recognition of the underlying reality, the unity.
That's how I read it. It shifts the goal from trying to get love from outside to realizing the love, the unity that's already fundamentally there. Now, when Fromm calls love an art, that word itself, art, it implies skill, right? Dedication.
Definitely. You don't just become a master artist overnight.
Right. You don't just pick up a violin and play a concerto. It takes practice. It takes discipline.
Exactly. Fromm implies it, but M. Scott Peck makes it totally explicit again in The Road Less Traveled.
What does Peck say?
He says very clearly, love is not effortless. To the contrary, love is effortful. He really hammers this home. He says, love is as love does. Love is an act of will, namely, both an intention and an action. Will also implies choice. We do not have to love. We choose to love.
Wow. So it's not just a feeling washing over you, it's a choice, an action, something you actively do.
A conscious, continuous commitment. A choice you make day in, day out. Especially when things get tough.
That's a critical distinction, isn't it? And one that maybe gets lost in the romance.
I think so. That initial desire, that spark, it's not enough on its own. Peck says it has to be of sufficient intensity that it is translated into action.
So wanting to be loving isn't the same as being loving.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You might want a loving relationship, but unless that desire shows up in actual effort, in daily choices, and consistent behavior, it's just a wish. It's not love in action.
So it pushes back hard against that idea of love as this overwhelming feeling you can't control.
Completely.
Yeah.
It frames it as a deliberate commitment, especially needed when that first intoxicating spark inevitably dims. That's when the real art, the real discipline, kicks in.
And this idea, discipline, of active commitment, it's not new, is it? You find it in ancient wisdom, too.
Oh, absolutely. Look at the Dhammapada, those sayings of the Buddha.
What does it say?
It advises refraining from all that is detrimental, the attainment of what is wholesome, the purification of one's mind. This is the instruction of awakened ones. It really emphasizes self-guidance. It says, oneself indeed is patron of oneself. Oneself is one's own guide. Therefore, restrain yourself as a merchant, a noble steed.
Restrain yourself like a noble steed. That speaks directly to that inner self-discipline, doesn't it? Taking the reins of your own mind, your impulses.
Exactly. Choosing how you respond rather than just reacting.
And the Bhagavad Gita, another cornerstone text, does it say something similar?
Very much so. It supports this active, engaged approach. It states, not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection.
So just stepping back or wishing things were different isn't enough.
Right. Instead, it recommends karma yoga, or work in consciousness.
Can you unpack those terms a bit? Karma yoga?
Sure. Karma yoga is basically the path of selfless action. Doing your duties, your work in the world, without being attached to the results. Offering your efforts to something higher.
In consciousness.
It implies acting with devotion, with full awareness of the divine or a higher principle in everything you do.
Yeah.
So it's about conscious, dedicated action, not withdrawal.
Makes sense.
The Gita even shows Arjuna, the warrior hero, initially wanting to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Kintaka consciousness as an excuse. It shows how tempting it is to try and sidestep the hard, disciplined work needed for real growth.
That temptation is timeless.
It really is.
This theme of discipline, maybe even surrendering the self for something higher, it gets pretty intense in some texts, like Theologia Germanica.
Ah, yes, that's a profound and challenging work of Christian mysticism.
It offers a really stark view, doesn't it? It says, there is no life so noble and good and well-pleasing to God as the life of Christ, and yet it is to nature and selfishness the bitterest life.
Bitterest to nature and selfishness.
Oh.
Wow.
It contrasts that with a life of carelessness and freedom, which might feel sweetest and pleasantest to the self, but
Is not the best. So it's not about seeking comfort or ease. It's about a higher calling that often demands sacrifice of what we want.
exactly. And it gets even more direct. It asserts that all will apart from God's will, that is, all self-will, is sin.
All self-will is sin. That's strong.
To reach the perfect good, it says, you have to first forsake all things and himself, first of all.
Forsake yourself first. That's a radical call for discipline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stripping away self-interest, ego, desires, attachments.
To align your will with a higher purpose, with God's will in its terms, letting go of what I want for what is or what serves a greater good.
That has huge implications for love. It suggests love requires putting something beyond your own individual needs and desires at the very center.
And St. Teresa of Avila in Interior Castle, she talks about conforming the will too, right? But maybe more practically.
Yes, she does. With remarkable clarity, she says the very greatest perfection which can be attained on the spiritual road is to labor and be resolute and prepare himself with all possible diligence to bring his will into conformity with the will of God.
Labor, be resolute, prepare. It sounds like work.
It is. And she emphasizes, which I really appreciate, that this isn't about strange jargon or getting lost in philosophy. It's about fundamental, humble effort.
Humble effort.
Consistent, practical, often unseen work, adjusting your inner compass, your intentions, your actions, day by day, to align with that higher principle. It's the daily practice of love, truly.
But this path of discipline, conforming the will, it's not always pleasant, is it? St. John of the Cross talks about the dark night.
Ah, yes. Dark night of the soul. He vividly describes these intense spiritual aridities, times of dryness, emptiness, and temptations. He sees them as a necessary, though often agonizing, purification. He explains that in these tough periods, the soul actually practices several virtues together, as, for example, patience and long-suffering. And crucially, the charity of God, since it is not now moved by the pleasure of attraction and sweetness, but only by God.
So when the good feelings are gone,
When the infatuation has vanished, when there's no emotional reward, that's when true, unadulterated love can emerge. Love motivated purely by something beyond getting your own needs met.
love becomes truly unconditional then, forged in the fire.
Exactly. He calls it a dark contemplation meant to purge and annihilate our usual ways of understanding, our usual affections and attachments, stripping away the ego. It leaves the will feeling exhausted, withered, and thoroughly tried in the fire, he says. It's painful, yes, but it prepares the soul for these rare and sublime touches of divine love.
So it's a stripping away, making space for something deeper.
That's the idea. It's challenging, transformative. It's the crucible where the art of loving is truly mastered. It demands everything, but the promise is something infinitely more profound than just fleeting happiness.
Okay, so we've talked about discipline, the sheer effort involved, but Fromm also emphasizes concentration as another key part of the art of loving.
Right, and this isn't just, focusing on your homework. It's deeper.
What does it mean in this context?
It's about cultivating a really profound, unwavering presence, awareness, being fully here.
Being present. Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about that in The Power of Now, doesn't he?
He does. He gives very practical guidance,
Yeah.
like suggesting you direct your attention into the body, feel it from within.
Feel it from within, yeah.
He says, keep focusing on the feeling of your inner body for a few moments. Do not start to think about it. Feel it. It's about dropping out of the constant mental chatter.
And into direct physical experience, connecting with just being.
Exactly. Bypassing the analytical mind.
And Tolle suggests this practice, this deep concentration on the inner body. It can lead somewhere profound.
He does. He talks about it leading to a kind of singularity, a point where the world dissolves into the unmanifested.
The unmanifested.
For Tolle, that's like the formless, pure consciousness, the timeless, spaceless source of everything, beyond concepts.
Okay.
And then, he says, the unmanifested takes on form as the energy stream of qi. Qi being that vital life force.
So it's like going back to the source?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Returning home into the unmanifested, into pure awareness, and then coming back to the world of form, daily life, but with a deeper sense of awareness, seeing things more clearly.
A fundamental shift in how you experience things.
Yes, a foundational shift.
And this kind of inner focus, this concentration, it changes how you see the world, like Anthony DeMello described.
Yes, in his book Awareness, he talks about seeing a tree, for instance. Not just seeing the label tree or what you're used to seeing.
But seeing it fresh.
Exactly, with the freshness of the vision of the child, perceiving it as something unique, that's flowing, that's whole and not fragmented.
Yeah. He makes that great point. There is no word for reality, because as soon as I put a word to it, we're limiting it, boxing it in. So true perception is experiencing reality directly, without all the labels and judgments.
That's the idea. A moment-to-moment encounter with the world and with the people you love, without the baggage of expectations or past experiences coloring it.
That requires real concentration, real presence.
It does. And Sam Harris in Waking Up, he clarifies this practice of mindfulness, this concentration. He calls it a specific kind of passion, a passion for discerning what is subjectively real in every moment.
A passion for what's real right now.
Yeah. He describes it as being undistracted, accepting, and ultimately non-conceptual.
Non-conceptual.
Not getting lost in thoughts about the experience, but rather the act of experiencing more clearly, including the arising of thoughts themselves.
So watching thoughts come and go without getting swept away.
Precisely. A vigilant but open and accepting observation of your inner world, thoughts, emotions, sensations, without judging them, without getting tangled up in them, seeing them as just passing phenomena.
The untethered soul takes that idea even further, right? The idea of the inner observer.
It does, very vividly. It describes consciousness as just watching thoughts and emotions come and go. Well, the consciousness itself, the awareness, didn't go anywhere. It stays constant and simply watches all of it.
Like the sky watching the clouds drift by.
That's a perfect image for it, cultivating that inner witness. Realizing you are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not the constantly changing stuff in your mind. You're the awareness behind it all.
And that insight, that detachment almost, that must be crucial for bringing real concentration to relationships.
Absolutely. It allows you to truly see the other person without your own internal noise, your own dramas, distorting your perception. You can be fully present with them.
This deep concentration, this awareness, can it become like a constant state, like the unceasing interior prayer I described in The Way of a Pilgrim?
That's a fascinating connection. That book describes this irresistible longing to acquire unceasing interior prayer. And interestingly, it says this isn't just personal ambition, it's a calling of God.
A calling.
Yeah.
And it requires,
Not superficial curiosity, it says, but a humble, simple heart and poverty of the spirit, meaning a sincere, egoless approach, total immersion in the present, guided by devotion.
and often that involves repeating a phrase, right? Like the Jesus prayer.
Exactly.
Right.
In Eastern Christianity, the Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner, is a common practice for this. And the text claims this practice can produce an abundance of blessings in your heart, that it can ultimately open the innermost eyes of the heart to gaze upon the Lord of hosts with abundant joy.
Wow. It describes this divine, irresistible, and intense longing that even enraptures the body as well, and the entire man becomes spiritual.
It's a description of total transformation through sustained, devoted awareness, ultimate concentration, really, making your whole being a channel for that connection, for love.
That's quite profound. Maybe on a more broadly accessible level, Conversations with God also talks about daily meditation.
Yes, it encourages it, not as a chore, a should, but as a choice to do something for the sake of inner experience, not out of reward.
Inner experience.
And it offers that beautiful line, the silences hold the secrets. And so the sweetest sound is the sound of silence.
Mm.
Ultimately, it suggests that through this kind of focus, this presence, this concentration, all of life becomes a meditation.
So it moves beyond a specific time you set aside.
It becomes a way of being, bringing that deep awareness into every moment, every interaction, making your whole life a conscious practice of being present, being loving.
Okay, so we need discipline, we need concentration, but Fromm adds two more crucial ingredients for this art of loving. What are they?
Faith and courage.
Faith and courage.
Right.
Now, faith, that can mean different things to different people. Is Fromm talking specifically about religious faith?
Not necessarily, although it certainly can include that more broadly. In Fromm's sense, it's a fundamental trust.
Trust in what?
Trust in life itself. Trust in the process of growth, both your own and the other person's. Trust in your own inherent capacity to love and to be worthy of love. It's like an inner conviction that goes deeper than just intellectual agreement or feelings that come and go. Trusting the process, even when you can't see the outcome.
Trusting the unseen. Conversations with God touches on this kind of broad faith, doesn't it?
It does. It urges us. Believe in the goodness of God and believe in the goodness of God's creation, namely your holy selves.
So believing in your own goodness, your own holy self, is connected to believing in a greater goodness.
Exactly. It suggests that deep self-trust, believing in your own worth and capacity, is interwoven with faith in the divine, however you conceive that. They're seen as linked. And it also stresses consistent practices to stay connected with God as truth. Recognizing that faith isn't just a one-off declaration.
It needs nurturing.
Yes, it's an ongoing relationship you tend with yourself and with that larger reality, a living connection.
And this kind of deep faith, this trust, it often demands real courage, doesn't it? Especially when life throws challenges at you, suffering, uncertainty.
Immense courage. Kara Brock in Radical Acceptance speaks directly to this, particularly about facing fear.
What does she say about facing fear?
She calls it a lifelong training in letting go of all we cling to. It is a training in how to die.
Wow. Training in how to die. That's intense.
It's a powerful metaphor, right?
Yeah.
For confronting our deepest anxieties. Not by running, not by analyzing them away, but by being fully present with them, allowing them, understanding that surrender, in this sense, isn't weakness. It's a profound act of strength, the courage to simply be with what is, no matter how uncomfortable.
So that courage allows us to face the tough stuff, the darkest of nights, as she puts it.
Yes, to meet the ongoing losses in life with radical acceptance. It's about choosing to move towards the pain, feeling it fully, without putting up walls.
Without resistance.
Right. Brack encourages us to bring a light into this darkness with the flame of your consciousness.
Illuminating it with awareness.
Exactly. It implies that real strength, real love, isn't found by avoiding pain or loss. It's often deepened, refined, by going through it consciously. It's in those vulnerable moments that true connection can actually happen.
Pema Chodron talks about this too, in When Things Fall Apart. Staying with the difficulty.
Yes, she really underscores this need for courage. She says, when things fall apart and we're on the verge of we know not what, the test for each of us is to stay on that brink and not concretize.
Not concretize. Meaning don't immediately try to label it, fix it, escape it.
Precisely. Just stay with the raw feeling, the uncertainty. She encourages opening our hearts to the human dilemma, the shared reality of suffering. and realizing that often what seems to be ugly is in fact the source of wisdom.
Wisdom comes from leaning into the discomfort.
That's her point, not from avoiding it, being fully present with it, with an open heart. That's where love moves beyond just seeking happiness and becomes real compassion.
For some, this courage takes an even more extreme form, right? Like Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Absolutely. Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who stood up to the Nazis and paid the ultimate price. His book, The Cost of Discipleship, is a powerful call to that kind of courage.
He quotes Jesus, doesn't he? If any man would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me.
Yes. And Bonhoeffer interprets this not just metaphorically, but as a call to active suffering, radical self-denial. Not for its own sake, but for a higher cause, for truth, for justice, for a love so profound it demands everything.
Giving up personal comfort, safety, even life.
It's an ultimate expression of love and devotion.
And he talks about the grace and privilege of suffering for that cause.
He does. The immeasurable grace and privilege of suffering for him as he did for them. It goes way beyond personal gain. It's embracing a shared burden, a purpose rooted in love that transcends the individual ego completely.
It's really a testament to the strength that faith and courage, when they're truly lived out, can provide, turning love into this, well, unwavering force against huge challenges.
An incredible example of the art of loving, lived out to its fullest, most demanding extent.
Let's circle back to that really profound idea from love as the overcoming of human separateness, that deep longing for union.
Yes, it's central to his whole framework.
And as we touched on, this isn't just Fromm's idea. It feels like a fundamental theme running through spiritual philosophy everywhere for ages.
Absolutely. It's this powerful notion that while we experience ourselves as separate individuals, unique and distinct,
We're ultimately part of something much, much bigger, interconnected.
exactly, a yearning to return to a sense of wholeness that maybe we feel deep down we've lost touch with.
Theologia Germanica states this pretty bluntly, doesn't it?
It does, with
Yeah.
striking clarity. It says, all beings are one in substance in the perfect being, and all good is one in the one being.
All beings are one in substance.
And it goes further. All wills be one in the one perfect will, and there shall be no will apart from that one.
So true love, in that view, involves moving beyond my individual desires, my separate ego.
Towards a collective, unified will, reflecting that deeper reality of interconnectedness. Our separate wills, when they're out of sync with that greater unity, are seen almost as a deviation, a sin in its language, a strong call to dissolve those ego boundaries.
And Conversations with God echoes this too with that simple phrase.
We are all one.
Yeah, but it explains, your union with me is complete. It always was, always is, and always will be. You and I are one both now and even forevermore.
It just collapses that perceived distance, doesn't it?
Right.
Between the individual self and the divine, or the universe, or whatever term you use.
Suggesting that separation isn't the fundamental reality, it's the illusion we've bought into.
And love, then, is essentially waking up to that already existing unity, recognizing it.
Which again brings A Course in Miracles to mind. The impossible has not occurred. Separation is impossible at the deepest level. It shifts everything from striving for union to realizing you're already part of it.
A profound shift in perspective.
Philosophers have wrestled with this too, right? Like Plotinus.
Oh, yes. Plotinus, in the Aeneid, explores this whole idea of the one and the many from a classical viewpoint.
Yeah.
He argues that the one has to exist prior to the many, and the many comes from it.
The source comes first.
Right. He uses an analogy like a science, a whole body of knowledge. It's a coherent whole, right?
Yep.
But it has different parts, different disciplines. They all derive from the whole, yet all are one.
So that helps us understand how all the diversity we see, individual people, unique relationships,
Yeah.
they can still be fundamentally connected.
Exactly. The many expressions originate from, and ultimately return to, the one, the single source of all being.
So our individual expressions of love, caring for this specific person, respecting that particular viewpoint, they aren't just isolated acts.
From this perspective, no. They're like ripples in that vast unified ocean of being. Each unique drop still belongs to the whole ocean.
Our distinct relationships, our specific acts of care, responsibility, respect, knowledge, they're like micro expressions of this huge cosmic principle.
You could see it that way, making our individual efforts potentially incredibly meaningful contributions to the larger whole.
We see this journey towards experiencing that oneness portrayed beautifully in fiction too, like in Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha.
Ah, yes. Siddhartha's journey culminates in that powerful realization, hearing the sound Om,
Representing the absolute.
right, where he remembers Brahman, knew about the indestructibility of life, knew about all that is divine, which he had forgotten.
Hmm.
And the river becomes this amazing metaphor for life itself, doesn't it? The place where all his illusions of separation dissolve.
He sees everyone merging into the river.
Yes, his father, his own image, the image of his son, Kamala's image, and the image of Govinda, all turning into the river, flowing together, heading for the goal, longing, desiring, suffering. Individual identities just merge into the flow.
And all the different voices in the river.
Voices of joy and of suffering, good and bad voices, laughing and sad ones, 100 voices, 1,000 voices. They change from just individual longing into this complex, interwoven harmony.
It's such a powerful image of that journey towards seeing interconnectedness, towards a universal love.
Recognizing that our individual stories, our joys, our struggles, they aren't separate. They're all threads in this magnificent shared tapestry of existence, all flowing towards the same ultimate unity, a love that embraces absolutely everything.
Okay, so when we approach love, like Fromm suggests, as this intentional art, this conscious practice needing discipline, concentration, faith, courage, what's the result? What kind of fruit does that yield? It must be different from just chasing infatuation.
Profoundly different.
Yeah.
It leads to a much deeper, more stable understanding of yourself and of others, a sense of identity that isn't constantly shaken by external events or needing validation. It builds inner strength.
Viktor Frankl, in Man's Search for Meaning, he touches on something related here, doesn't he? About realizing potential.
Yes, and it connects beautifully with Fromm. Frankl notes that the only aspect of life that is not eternal is its potential. But once potential is realized, it becomes reality.
Once potential is realized, it becomes reality.
His point is that true meaning isn't just found in pleasure or success, but most deeply in how you bear suffering and how you actively realize your unique potential through your choices, your actions, your attitude.
So becoming who you're meant to be.
Exactly. And that active process of self-realization, that is a core part of mature self-love, which in turn is what makes genuine empathetic love for others possible and sustainable. You become your truest self, and then you offer that self.
Conversations with God puts this idea of self-realization very directly, doesn't it?
Extremely directly. It posits this really radical idea. The point and purpose of your life is to decide and to be who you really are.
Decide and be.
Yes, every action, every thought, every word you speak is contributing to this ongoing creation of yourself. We are essentially constantly defining and manifesting who we are through our choices.
So love isn't just connection, it's also authentic self-expression.
That seems to be the implication. And the text gives that striking contrast to illustrate it. On one side, Paramahansa Yogananda, the great spiritual teacher, it says he had a very clear idea about himself and about his relationship to me, God. And he used his life to outpicture that. And the result? Peace, serenity.
He lived out his inner truth.
Exactly. Then on the other side, Babe Ruth,
Yeah.
legendary baseball player, had all the fame, all the money.
Had everything, materially speaking.
Right. But the text says he never got what he really wanted. He experienced anxiety, turmoil.
Why the difference?
Both were outpicturing their idea of self, the text says. But the results were totally different. It powerfully shows how important what you choose to be, what internal landscape you cultivate, really is. Yogananda found peace through spiritual self-realization. Ruth, despite external success, found unrest. It's about the inner game.
Which brings us nicely to Don Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements. He talks about the stories we live by.
Yes, he explains how the outside dream, society, parents, religion, all that teaches us how to dream. He gives us this internal book of laws that governs our personal reality.
And that causes suffering.
Often, yes, because we judge ourselves against these imposed rules. We pay 1,000 times for the same mistake, constantly criticizing ourselves based on this external programming, not our inner truth. We get stuck in self-judgment.
So how do we break free? What's Ruiz's path?
His first agreement is the foundation. Be impeccable with your word.
Be impeccable with your word. That means more than just telling the truth, right?
Much more. It's fundamentally about the integrity of your inner dialogue, the words you use to define yourself and your world. It means actively finding and breaking those old agreements, beliefs, rules that cause you suffering, and consciously making new agreements that bring happiness, peace, love.
Replacing the old programming.
Yes. And his guidance is beautifully simple. The way to get there is to be there. You want to be love.
Don't wait for it.
Exactly. Don't wait for someone else to give it to you. Be love now. Make the choice to embody the qualities you desire rather than waiting for perfect conditions.
That's empowering. And the fifth agreement builds on this.
It does. It encourages you to see if the story of you is the truth or is not the truth. Just witness what is without any judgment, because whatever you're creating is perfect.
Witness without judgment, accepting what is.
Right. It's an invitation to become the true artist of your life. And it calls for humanity, collectively, to create a new cultural story, one based on believing the human race is inherently good.
A huge shift. And it starts.
It starts with you seeing yourself not as victim, not trapped by your past, but as an artist who has mastered the dream. Someone capable of consciously, lovingly creating a life filled with intentional, practiced love for yourself and for the whole world. Hashtag tag episode outro.
So quite a journey we've taken through Erich Fromm's really powerful transformative invitation, seeing love not as something you just fall into passively.
But as an active, courageous art, something you have to practice diligently.
Yeah. And we've seen how discipline, concentration, faith, and courage, they aren't just nice-sounding virtues. They're practical, essential tools for cultivating that mature, lasting love in all parts of life.
Drawing insights from such a wide range ancient texts like the Dhammapada, the Gita.
Christian mystics like Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross, modern psychology from Peck, Frankl, spiritual guides like Tolle, Ruiz.
Even touching on A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
It all weaves together.
It really does.
And what this deep dive really reveals, I think, is a profound truth. The depth, the authenticity of our connections, whether it's with a partner, our family, our community, the divine, it's ultimately a direct reflection of our own inner work.
It really puts the responsibility back on us.
It does. It challenges us to move beyond just the fleeting excitement, the potential crash and burn of falling in love, and step into the enduring strength, the deep satisfaction of standing in love, intentionally cultivating those capacities within ourselves that allow for real, genuine, lasting connection. It's a call to be conscious, active participants in arguably the most fundamental, most rewarding part of being human.
So if love truly is an art, as Fromm suggests, and if we are all artists holding the brush to the canvas of our lives, what masterpiece will you create? Not just for yourself, but thinking about the countless others whose lives you touch, just by being you, by your actions. What one daily practice, maybe born from discipline or concentration or faith or courage, what one thing will you commit to, starting today, to paint a more vibrant, more connected, more truthful expression of love in your own unique, unfolding life?